Wow, unbelievable. Folks, you have a big guest today. Very important man, a man who can make money for all of us, or at least guide us slightly here and there. In fact, there are lots of do's and don'ts, so I have to be very careful. I say the wrong word, I'll be arrested in Ukraine, which is where I'm doing the podcast from. No, that's not even funny. That's wrong. Let's get to the real problem we're having in Mumbai at the moment, which I think it's an elephant in the room again that has to be addressed. People are not talking about it enough before we get Abhijit on. And that is, well, I think our commissioner, traffic commissioner, he came up with this idea of no towing for this week. The week that we're in, no cars can be towed. So happily park your car anywhere in Mumbai, in the middle of the road, on Marine Drive or Worli Sea Face, or on the bridge also. You can go sideways and leave the car, and they can't tow it. That's the law for 1 week. My worry is he's trying to encourage a sort of civil responsibility and, you do your bit for the state and the state does their bit for you. Ha ha! It's never happened before, but it's a good thought. It's a noble thought. So I salute him for that. However, here's the problem. As someone who has studied traffic issues in Mumbai for the last, since 1971, since Bangladesh became a nation, I've been studying this. I have to tell you, 100% the problem is not cars, it's bikes. The biker, in fact, not even the bike. Let's not blame the machine. Let's blame the biker. Bikers are the problem. They're the ones who break all the laws, disregard everything, ride up pavements, ride left, right, and center, go through one ways. So there's no point talking about the car issue until you deal with the bike menace. You're using the wrong weapon to hit the wrong people, is what I'm saying. So forget the towing week and individual responsibility of car owners. Let's look at how we can get rid of bikers. I think the bike exam, before you allow a biker to own a bike and ride it, should be very intense and severe. They should be people who are feeding kids at an orphanage, helping, say, the blind, the older people, doing a lot for charity. There should be very compassionate nature to the biker. When we see that 100% that he's a selfless person, then alone he should be allowed to ride a bike. All right, I'll talk about this later in detail on a Cock and Bull show, because this is something that needs a lot of to and fro. But in the meantime, this is a financial, I won't say crisis, but at a time when people are worried because of war, and war causing a domino effect and blah, 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 crude oil and crude oil to petrol, petrol to sugar, sugar to milk, ultimately I can't get a massage, all because of the war. So let's go and meet the man who can help us through this with the latest. No, it's not the latest, it's already been there. Let's just call it crypto. If you call it crypto, anything else, you will be shot on sight, by the way. And this is here in India. Abhijith Cuddapah, can we see him? Abhijit is right there. He almost left after listening to my stupid rant about bikers. He serves as the role of Associate Director of Product Growth and Experience at CoinSwitch. He comes with 9+ years of product management experience, which in this business is like veteran. I mean, like you're like the guy who started the business, literally, and across domains of music tech, ed tech, and financial tech. We'll come to that. We'll come to all these things. But the whole crux of the issue today, the matter that we are going to discuss, is the RBP, or recurring buy plan. Abhijit, I'm going to start with all these technical questions which I don't understand, but I'm going to pretend like I understand them so that you don't waste time answering them for too long. We'll start with this, then we'll go into your life if we can as well. What the hell is RBP?
Yeah, so RBP is something that we have kind of designed for some of our CoinSwitch users who might not have enough time to sit and time the market or look at their investments very carefully, right? So this is something where you can basically set up a schedule where every month you can invest a small amount of money in a crypto, and that becomes it becomes self-sustaining after that. So it's more of a disciplined approach to your investing.
Okay, again, I'm already confused, and this is the basic. I know you're trying to answer it as basically as you can to someone who's a complete idiot, but remember,
Sure.
most investors are complete idiots. That's the truth of the matter.
Okay.
If they weren't, they wouldn't be here talking to you in any case. So you're saying that it's a fluid sort of discipline that happens automatically, like an algorithm?
It's not exactly an algorithm. It's going to be as simple as saying that I want to invest X amount of rupees in this crypto every month on the second of it, right? And then it just goes on from there. Imagine that you're invested in a particular coin much before, like probably sometime in its peak. And as it is going down, probably you're scared to invest in it again. But whereas this particular RBP would help you build that discipline and also average out your price, so that later when the entire market goes up, that time you kind of end up gaining.
Okay, all right. But how do you set this time? First and foremost, this time issue, because all these fluctuations that are there in the world and society. Some last 3 4 years, I've seen things from left field which we never even thought of. Before, you had your
Mhm.
normal government issues and interference and maybe the market dip left, right, and center. But now we've got these extraneous circumstances which I don't think. I mean, we're almost learning on the job. So, how do you plan?
Mhm.
What would be a set amount of time where you will get maybe an average sort of success failure ratio?
So it's not, again, you're not thinking about timing it, right? And you're not thinking about figuring out what the market is doing. You're just setting it up so that it can just happen on its own without worrying about whether the market is going up and down. Because historically, it is proven that if you do this and if the market is something that goes in an uptrend over 10 years or 15 years, you end up gaining anyway.
Okay, all right. We'll come back to that because I'm sure people will ask more important questions. Those who are actually investing. I want to just quickly mention that I'm a big fan of CoinSwitch, where you are. I've done a couple of ads and some promos for them, and the food is fantastic. They really take care of us well. Catering is top class. So, and that talks about the discipline of a company or corporation or a merchant, if you will, where the food is good. I believe everything is good because they're taking care of the finer details, and then obviously the investment is something that you can back. Okay, let take us to the customer feedbacks that made you build this product, or if there is another reason to why you've gone in with this RBP sort of thingy. Where does it come from, the origin?
Yeah, so I think there had been a lot of customer requests where they've kept asking, "Can you build a SIP for crypto? Can you build an SIP for crypto?" Right. So that was one of the requests that we got from our customers themselves. The second thing is we also understood that a lot of our customers are completely novice. Right. This is their first ever investment instrument. So for them, learning about the market, doing the technical analysis, figuring out what is the support, what is resistance, it's going to be very difficult for them. So this is again a simplified way for us, for them to kind of just schedule an RBP and then forget it, right? And it just even though you don't have like a lump sum to invest, this helps you to break that down into smaller amounts, and you can start with as low as 100 rupees, right, for an RBP. And it just helps it kind of execute a investment strategy on their own.
Okay, I'm going to ask a slightly difficult question. No, it's not difficult, but I think I'm cutting to the chase slightly here because I think at the end of the day, people are investing because they want to make money. The nobility of the cause is lost on a lot of people, and it's only about the end result. So, what is a? It's a hard thing to ask percentage. What is the framework of success at CoinSwitch, for example? Give us a sort of if there is a blueprint. Is it fair to ask if there's a blueprint, and if there isn't, the closest to it?
Yeah, I think overall, the way the success framework is kind of built is do what is right for the user. If the user is happy, if they're able to kind of get hooked onto your platform and they're able to build wealth on your platform, that is a sure shot sign that we are doing well by them, right?
Correct.
So I think that is one of the major things that we look for. And this happens through multiple feedback loops. It could be through reviews that we get, it could be people reaching out to us and telling us that they're happy about our product. It could be on social media. So all these different avenues we kind of closely monitor and we understand, and then of course we go and celebrate these small wins when we see that our customer is truly happy with our product.
Okay, so the question that comes to mind immediately is that what are the, I won't say complaints again, because what are the problem areas that you think we have as a novice or fearful, apprehension, driven customers or clients? What are the things you have to address to tell us to make us feel more confident in products? I won't take names of various ones, but in the business.
So I think generally, when you look at it, it's the lack of knowledge, right? Anytime you are embarking on something new, you're always going to be nervous. You're always going to be unsure about it, right? So that usually raises a lot of questions. And if we are able to provide you with the right support at the right time, with the right information, right? You would definitely be a little bit more comfort, a little bit more calm, and then you would kind of trust us more, right? So I think that initial aspect of addressing the gaps in the knowledge, gaps in the information, and then making sure the customer is well informed before they are embarking on this journey, right? That kind of helps in setting up that confidence.
So, the problem, not problem again, but again, it's a apprehension or misapprehension. We feel ki a coin switch, for example, is a new age, a new wave business model, if you like. With the others, traditional stuff, whether it's stocks or whatever the hell it is, you can look at years of perspective, up, down, across, whatever. So, is this an advantage or disadvantage for you? Because also the newness makes it very popular immediately. Everybody thinks, "Ki, ab kya hai, ab kya hoga, what's the next big thing?" So, I can get that as well. So, is it in your favor, or is it a tougher thing to sort of go over, that it's a new product and there is not that much perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I think crypto is a double-edged sword, right? It comes with a lot of volatility, so users have to do a lot of research on their own. And of course, other traditional instruments do have strong backing, strong like historic analysis around it. But again, this kind of attracts a younger crowd because they're in it for the excitement, or they're in it for a lot of because it's so volatile, right? And their risk appetite is also much higher when they're young. So I think those are some of the signals which basically helps us attract a specific set of users. But at the same time, a lot of the traditional investors kind of use this as a diversification strategy, right? Because it helps them kind of diversify their portfolio as well.
Coming back to the youngsters, those bloody idiot youngsters, I hate them. The whole point of the matter is that they have that. I don't know whether this is also the business model, in a sense that subculturally you have to have. I won't use the word dirty body part of the male, but you have to have some sort of courage and guts and drive and dynamism to actually get into this kind of business. And then suddenly you see these young guys are rolling in it, and it's very irritating. So I do feel again that there's a conservative bent of mind and there's a slightly more adventurous spirit, and you're almost calling to the adventurous spirits with this system, which the conservatives are still cynical and will continue to be cynical for whatever reasons. Okay, take us to the customer journey map again. Is there a sort of graph that the customer follows when he gets into CoinSwitch, let's say?
So generally, CoinSwitch, it starts off as their first investment, right? So they have to come into the platform. They need to complete their KYC, which is our first step for them to get started. Once they've done that, they would then invest or basically deposit INR into the wallet of CoinSwitch, and they can do this via multiple payment modes like UPI and bank transfers. Once they've done that, now they can kind of look for which crypto to buy. And once they've kind of honed in on which one to buy, all they need to do is just click on buy. And within a few steps, they'll be able to have that crypto in their wallet. And of course, we give them options of limit orders or even RBP, as we were talking about, for them to kind of tailor their investment strategy right around it.
So, how much should you study the business model to have confidence? Again, I'm going back to I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Let's face it, I became an adult in the 90s. I'm not yet an adult, Abhijit, as you can tell. I tried to become an adult in the 90s. So, in the old days, it would make us go through all kinds of scripts and this and that and try and understand this. Sometimes I would get buried with the over analysis where you start, you just go on. There's a point where the marginal utility of analysis just seems to be, useless, because you just over analyzed everything and you're just going in circles. So, how much do you need to study? uh, uh, let's talk of crypto in general, no, not just coins. How much you need to study before you enter? How much do you know?
So
How much information should you have?
So I think everyone has to do their research before they're investing. So general, at least when we speak to our customers, the general sources of information that we get from them is that they follow a lot of YouTubers out there who provide a lot of information about certain crypto, and they do the analysis and then they give recommendations, right? So that becomes one source of information. They follow a lot of the Twitter pages of the crypto itself, where the founders and the contributors talk about what are the new innovations that they're bringing in. And that also helps them make certain decisions. And of course, there's a lot of research and some amount of gut feel that goes into final decision making when they are ready to invest.
Okay, I'll just go back a little bit. This is again for idiots like me. So if you were to give me 3, 4 steps, I'm starting from zero. Actually, my wife's asking me this question all the time, especially getting into crypto, CoinSwitch. Let's plug CoinSwitch. What are the 3, 4 steps? I started a blank slate. I have a comp here. How do I? What's my? Just give me 3, 4 steps just to get into it.
Got
at a
it.
very low level.
So I think generally you just need to log into the app. So that is 100% that you need to
Hmm.
do. The second thing is in CoinSwitch, we give you some amount of social signals, right? What is the most popular? What is the most bought? What is the top loser? What is the top gainer for today? And that gives you some amount of idea that a particular crypto is either going down or is either going up, and then you click on one of them, you get to the coin or the asset page, right? There you get to see the graphs. You would see like a week graph, a month graph, a year graph, and that gives you some idea about the trend of the crypto, that is whether it's going down, is it going up, is it currently at a rate where it is much lower than the previous all time high. All these different signals will basically tell you if a particular crypto is good for investment or not. Again, it's up to you on what kind of investment strategy you would take. Definitely RBP is something you can opt for if you don't want to do all these research. You
Yeah,
just
exactly.
stick to some of the major coins which have the higher market cap, and just set up an RBP with how much money that you can spend for a month, right? And just let it be. And of course, you can cancel it anytime if you have any sort of emergencies and you want to stop that RBP. You can cancel it anytime. So that's also something that you can do.
Yeah, like your wife's anniversary. I always call it the wife's anniversary. Suddenly you need money for something else. But so the big question from exactly what you're saying is, how do you decide when it's right to hit the RBB button or buy the DP? How do you make that? Is there a like a flag that goes off?
So there's no right time, right? So because the market will keep going up and down, buying the dip is going to be much more difficult. But setting up an RBP, you can just kind of set it and forget it, and you don't have to worry about whether you have bought the dip or you have bought the peak, because over time it will average out.
Wow. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll come back in more detail with Silvery after our break and talk about this in more detail because we'll get people asking questions who are already invested and as wanting a little guidance from you. There's a lot of pressure on you, huh, Abhijit? But people have put millions in crypto and very much on CoinSwitch, which is, let's face it, got the most branding here. Uh, but first, for a few minutes before we go into break, I want to talk about you now because our show is about human factor, brother. Human factor is very important. We can't dissociate human factor from the market mechanics, which is fabulous as well. But it all starts from there. So, who's Abhijith Cuddapah? Where does he come from? What's his life story, and how did he land up in this business?
Sure. So I'm a true Bangalorean, born and brought up in Bangalore, and I've kind of as soon as I graduated, I jumped into startups. I was thinking of my own startup from the start, and also spent around 3 years building it. It was into music. We were building a music social network, which we later then had to shut down. And post that, I had
What was
good
it? What was it called? You started it, right?
it was called Tenori, which basically we wanted to. It was a wordplay on the word tenor,
Tenor. Huh.
and yeah. We did build an app. We launched it. We had few organic users, but then we couldn't sustain it much, so we had to kind of shut it down. But post that, yeah,
One second, Abhijit. So you got a music background as well?
yeah, I did like sing and play guitar in a band in college. So
What the hell? The best way to sell CoinSwitch to the listener now is for you to pick up that damn guitar and start playing something for us. So you were a bit of a rocker, is it?
yeah, it was a death metal band. So
There you go. Bangalore, I can do the maths, yeah, really, honestly. Bangalore death metal band, younger days, fair enough. So you got into that. Sorry, I interrupted. So you got into that. That was the first startup. It didn't really take off then.
yeah. So then we had to pivot it into an education startup from music tech to music education, where, but then that actually started making money, but we were kind of mistimed in the market, if I would say. I think it would have been a much more successful startup given the pandemic now.
What
Uh,
is the word they use? Premature. Oh, that's something else. Okay, go
no.
on.
Cool. So yeah, post that I had a few stints with few more ed tech startups, and then fintech, and then ended up in CoinSwitch. Started as one of the first product managers there. Looked after almost the entire thing for a
Had you
long
heard of
time.
crypto at the
I
time when you first
had
got?
I had actually during my music startup days, I was exploring a bit of the blockchain in order to build like smart contracts to provide royalties to musicians, right? So that was one sort of innovation which I was dabbling around. So I did have a good amount of context in blockchain and crypto.
So obviously you were, I would say, invested in it, but you were fascinated by it enough and
Yeah,
also believed in it before you enter
exactly.
the domain as a from that perspective. Obviously, just can you take us through the roles of this associate director of product growth and I mean, you just mentioned about music growth and experience at CoinSwitch across the domains of music tech, ed tech, and fintech. So the last two very clear. What about music tech now? Going back to
Music tech
your
was,
other
yeah, that
passion.
was the Tenery, the
Oh, okay.
startup. Yeah.
Okay. So what was edtech and fintech? You also dabbled in that.
Yeah. So EdTech was again in my startup and also in another EdTech company, which was in upskilling. So I was leading the entire learning management system there. So yeah, kind of dabbled in that. And fintech also have dabbled a few in a company which basically provided the prepaid cards, right? So the entire card ecosystem of the payments, domestic payments, and forex payments. So a
Mhm.
bit of experience around there.
Well before cred. So you've tried your hand at various things, somewhat in the same business before you come finally to where you are, which is the crypto world. Let's put it that way. Um, so give us a again. I don't want to put words in your mouth, because then you're going to say things which are like a prediction. But people are always asking this question. We'll go into break after this, so when we come back, there'll be more specific questions. But what is the future? If because this argument is going on all the time with novices and people don't know enough कि ये है product है या नहीं है, will it sustain, will it not sustain, just generalize and just generally tell me what is the future, because with the world the way it is and the pandemic's never ending, etc., there's also a lot of cynicism. How can we push away that cynicism?
Yeah, I think crypto, of course, people come from all different sides of perspectives, right? For me personally, I am still a strong believer of crypto. Its use cases, there has been a lot of innovation on the blockchain, especially given Web3 and the next step into the internet, right? So I am very bullish on crypto. Again, it's a personal opinion. Like to each one their own, but I'm very bullish on the crypto landscape.
Okay, and looking again, difficult question to answer. Looking forward 3, 4, 5 years, I mean, no one can ever tell anything about anything now for
Yeah.
sure. But a long-term perspective. Um, I guess the younger generation always thinks immediate. But what about long-term perspective? Is it fair to say it's also a long-term player?
Yeah, yeah, of course, because we are still scratching the surface, right, with crypto right now. Think of it as when AOL Messenger started during the internet era in Web 1, right? So we are still there. And for us to get to the way we are in Web 2.0 now, it's going to take some time. And of course, a lot of people, a lot of smart people are in it on the journey. And this is definitely going to become a household kind of terminology when you see a lot of new things started to get built on the blockchain and Web 3.0.
I think what we need to know, and before people to really give them a sense of confidence, is how many politicians are invested or will be invested in crypto. Take a
Hmm.
guess. Percentage, give me
I
20%, 30%, 50%.
I don't think I can answer that. I don't
Let's
even
get that research
think
done
about
before
it.
the show is over. And let me tell you, the very way in India, the way to do it is it's actually the relative of the politician who's invested. That's how it works. It's a very nice middle path that we take. What about someone like Putin? You think Putin? I've heard all these rumors. Any idea?
Not sure though. There are a lot of mining operations that happen in the Serbia region because of the climate there, right? But not sure.
Fair enough. Abhijit, you handled the questions with Elan and grace. If this was a Miss India contest, you'd have won, hands down. You're not committed. Fair enough. But let's get back to RBP when we come back after the break. Silvery will join us. He's actually invested in CoinSwitch, so he's going to put his money where his mouth is and ask better questions. And then we'll get the live chat, which I'm sure everybody's dying to ask you. Possibly very specific questions, so be prepared, Abhijit. We're taking a break. His name is Abhijith Cuddapah. He's with us. He's going to help us make lots of money in the long term, and in the short term, we're going to make some jokes. Here is the break. We'll be back in a second.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, as Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Kajol, Ayushi and Antrish discuss the grave subject of Putin threatening to take nuclear action and Indian students being stuck in Ukraine. On The Habit Coach, Ashton is joined by Neha Sahai, celebrity nutritionist and wellness consultant. They take a deep dive into various issues people face when it comes to nutrition. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik speaks to Vishal Menon, assistant editor at Film Companion. They trace the evolution of Malayalam cinema. On Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna share pro tips to help your child beat exam stress. And on Hansvani, here's the story of La Fantus. It hilariously tells us about the colorful characters we encounter in all areas of life. So, on a personal note, I wanted to let you all know that this week marks the 7th anniversary since I started IVM. I'm eternally grateful to the team we have here, especially Kavita Rajwade and Tejas Sringarpure, who have been here since the beginning. They've seen the struggles, our eventual acquisition by Pratilipi, and our continued struggles to make podcasting a large and thriving part of the media industry. We have the best hosts in the world, and I have to say that I'm so glad and so grateful that they have chosen to work with us. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to you, the millions of folks who have heard or watched our content. All I can say is, you ain't seen nothing yet. I hope you join us as we continue this journey. In the meanwhile, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening to. You can also check us out on YouTube. To get a list of all of our channels, you can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where you can go to all the channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, Max Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Okay, the break is over, Abhijit.
Hi Abhijit, how are you doing? Good morning.
This is India. This is exactly what happens during the break. And this young Silvery, as usual, when you do anything to do with CoinSwitch, you have to come in because you are the guy who's actually right at the beginning. Actually, I can't remember the exact. Maybe 6 months to a year have passed when you dabbled, right, for the first time.
Yeah, correct. But I also got into the hype train only, and then got into crypto. And now this RBB thing is great. Like it sounds so, like it sounds like the perfect way to go about it. Like you don't have to always be paying attention to how the markets are performing. And sounds great.
So for the lazy investor as well, I think
exactly.
Almost like a paradox, na, Abhijit? Because generally speaking, everybody says, maine karunga. I don't understand it. And now you almost realize you've heard the market and said, okay, don't understand it. Be lazy, be laid back, and go for RBP. Again, this is a positive point, not a negative point, guys. Let's understand that. Yeah. But because we are like that, a lot of us are scared to get committed. We do that with our relationships. I'm seeing 3 girls now on the side. I've said no to all of them because I'm married also. There's a limit to what you should do, crypto and otherwise. But yeah, so I think that this is a psychological. You sort of got the psychology right of many of our passive investors. Let's say, Silvery, are you going to use RBP? Honestly,
absolutely. I think I'm literally going to. Find out
He's
what
on it right now.
on the app right now.
He's stopping the show to do it.
I'm trying to find out what I can do with this.
Guys at CoinSwitch, this has to be real. It's never happened in the history of broadcasting that the host is going online right now. He's following the 3-step instructions Abhijit has laid down for us. All right. So it is RBP is SIP also. Let's just point that out. I think he's mentioned it right at the top. But Silvery, I'll let you ask a couple of questions before we go into chat. Is there anything you want to ask about RBP in specific?
Not RBP specific, but I have some questions around crypto, if you don't mind. RBP is for sure, and I'm sure something you're excited about. Is there anything else in this space also, which is with the common consumer should be keeping their eyes on that would change the space or blockchain space for good, maybe?
You mean to say in general, like
like so something like that you would be excited for in this space, that is like some new technology or maybe Web3. That's all.
I think of course NFTs are something that is kind of taking off, right? So that's a major step in that direction on the Web3 because it's got a lot of attention. So that is something I'm definitely excited about because it's art which is getting sold on the blockchain and there's no middleman involved, right? So blockchain basically is decentralized. Everyone knows who the rightful owner of that particular piece of art is. And that just helps in understanding and kind of managing this entire world of art and royalty, right? So NFT is, of course, a very strong innovation, which I kind of track a lot about.
Yeah, I was wondering whether taking this art thing further, because it
Hmm.
seems to be too good to be to my wife Aisha. Actually, there's some paintings behind. She sold something 2 days back for about 60 USD, I believe. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
cheaper than that she can only sell me. So it's low in the fruit line. However, what about bad art? I'm thinking, what about I start like a bad art line? I just, for example, this is my painting. I don't know if you can see it
Mhm.
right here, my sketch. Why can we, I mean, we can do anything with anything. So
Yeah.
my point is, yeah, no,
No,
my
I'm.
point,
Yeah.
sorry, no, my point is, nobody again understands the art market really. It's something that's, I mean, it's so subjective, etc. So how do we have faith in that kind of thing as well? Because it's not
So,
like maths really. It's like a science, which is not a
mhm.
science.
No, I think that's purely driven by perception, right? Everyone has their own subjective kind of perception about a particular piece of art. So some people might value it, some people might say it's bad.
So
Probably,
Abhijit,
if you put
would
this,
you buy this? Would you buy my as an NFP? Would you put your money where
You
your
know,
mouth
actually,
is?
Cyrus, you could possibly sell it as a piece by Cyrus Brocha, and there will
yeah,
be buyers for
That's
that
what I'm
and
just
saying. I'm
because it's from
literally
Cyrus
saying that
Brocha.
the hype is ridiculous, and it's actually it's a phallic symbol, by the way, guys. Something we are very proud
So
of
even
in our
more,
scriptures.
yeah, they will be like, Cyrus, you
Abhijit is
drew your own
Abhijit is laughing.
Cyrus.
He's been to the dressing room with lots of men over the years, and this has not been seen, not witnessed even once. Yeah.
Oh god.
Okay, let's get back to RBP in a hurry.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
Uh, so to what extent can we use RBP, Abhijit? Like,
go ahead.
is there like a specific number of coins maybe that I can track, or is it endless?
So it's
Is there a max?
completely, there's no limits on the number of crypto that you can put an RBP on. And of course, since it's like RBP, SIP, similar terms, just wanted to kind of call that out. Where you can also, for the same crypto, you can do multiple RBPs. So if you don't want to do it monthly, you can set like 4 RBPs for the same crypto and make it weekly. And so you have that flexibility.
So you can
Mhm.
program it any way you want to. There's no one or
Exactly.
two patterns that you have to follow. Literally, you can program it according to your lifestyle and
Exactly.
your psychological, or rather your ability to be disciplined. Um, okay, we also exchange platforms. There are many RBPs that is available. Many we already discussed that. Yeah. So how much money is there now in crypto? Can you give me a ball figure, like a total amount?
So the overall market cap is more than I think $2 trillion. It had reached three, but I think it dropped down after some of the geopolitical stuff that happened. Right?
Messes that have happened.
Yeah.
But imagine $3 trillion. That's almost our podcast account here. Oof, that's fantastic. And growing. Once again, there's no point giving perspective to it, because the world just keeps changing, so we don't know. And I don't want you to hedge and tell us this, that, and the others. I don't think we want to lead people the wrong way. Not when me and Silvery are doing the talking. So,
Yeah.
Silvery, shall we get other people? Shall we get people in with their
Yep, sure.
questions? Yeah.
Yep, with a few questions. They aren't really RBP related, but they are crypto related. This one comes in from Ishani Mehta. She says, "How has the new crypto bill changed the space? Is it going to be officially legal now? I think it's
A lot
already.
of
It was never
confusion,
illegal.
Abhijit.
Yeah,
Sorry, a little confusion on this bill. It came out, then it didn't kind of come out, then it sort of almost went into some coma. So what's happening?
No, I think the whatever is out there in terms of the budget on the taxation, that's the only thing that is out right now. There's no other information from the government, but we are still waiting for it.
See,
Too early to comment right now.
I've said this before, with due respect to Nirmala ji, when she says just because we tax it doesn't mean we endorse it. I can understand that concept. I find that a paradox in terms. I'm saying this, I don't want you to say this. This is from our side, not from your side. I cannot understand that, because you're taxing something, you have endorsed it. It's part of your legal structure. How can you tax something which is not? I mean, if it's cocaine, you tax it, then you legalize cocaine in a sense, because it's part of the society framework. So I
yeah,
cannot understand how they make comments like this. Again, I'm putting it on record that we are saying this as Aam Aadmi people who are outside the framework of the organizing committee that runs crypto and all that. So just to make sure that you don't get a letter from anyone. But really, I just I wish people would just be more open, both in India and in the world, when it comes to corporate sort of strategies. Why can't it just be straightforward about everything? Yeah, yes, yeah, no, black, yeah, white. Sometimes, but this keeping everything in a gray area, that's half the problem why anxiety happens, and then people hesitate, and then people hedge, and then people get opinions. I think we Indians always love 50 opinions. We think that's our sense of democracy. Agar 50 opinions aayega, to, right, Silvery? 50 people tell you, then you decide to cross the bridge. Those
Exactly.
50 people have never even seen the bridge, but it's like that. Okay, enough lectures from my stupidity. Let's go on to the next question.
Sure. This one comes from Rohini Kamath asks, hey Cyrus and dear guest, Silvery, I hope you will ask this question the next time you have a crypto guest on. What is a DAO, and how can one go about investing in a DAO?
So yeah, DAO is basically a company on the blockchain. It's called a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's kind of like any company that is built today, right? So they have it on the blockchain, and all the governance is given to the public. So you invest in it, right? So it is an interesting field. I haven't kind of dabbled much in that. Probably I might not be the best person to answer a little bit more detail into it. But this is more of just a general overview of what it is.
Okay, there's another answer. It's also Old English. If you read Shakespeare and that kind of period, there's a lot of thou, thou mentioned. Thou shalt not lie in public, for example, is a sentence that would have been used in the 15th century, normal conversation. It means you. If that helps, Silvery, I'm just putting it aside.
Okay,
there. If
cool,
that helps,
got it.
because they're writing in, they want answers, we give them answers. Yeah.
Sure, got it. No worries. So those are the only crypto-related questions that we had from our fans before this. How about some non-crypto questions, if that's fine? Let's go with
Abhijit, let me
Amol
set this
Chandra.
up. So we have specific questions and non-specific questions. I feel specific questions beyond a point, because you're on a very tender period in this business, that it would be pressure related. So we've taken the pressure off you, but we're asking you questions you have nothing to do with. Now you can be as open as you want, but in that you can answer crypto metaphorically also, if you like.
That'll be great. Let's see if you can.
That'll be great, because we have very intelligent listeners. They can understand everything. Layered thinkers.
Yes,
Bolo, sir.
great. All right, Amol Chandra has sent in a message, sent in a question saying, "Hi Cyrus and dear guest, are you all big on having condiments on your food, like ketchup or mustard or sriracha or hot sauce, etc., etc., or do you get offended if someone puts ketchup or mustard on your food?"
Abhijit,
in
your career as a crypto manager, go ahead. Isme kya hai? Soch, let's find out. Yeah.
Is there a cryptocurrency with this name, like ketchup or sriracha or mustard something? I'm sure there must be.
You would never know. I think
all the animals have been used up. So now, you go to condiments.
All the animals have been used up.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead, Abhijit. Are you a condiment man?
It depends. Again, I think it's more on the dish itself. If the dish by itself is pretty tasty, I don't like to add an extra element.
So it's a bit like a good-looking person, let's say a good-looking woman, doesn't need all the extra accessories sometimes, because she's very pretty. And say she's not, then sometimes you need the necklaces and the braces and whatever, the braids in the hair and some fancy whatever bangles and clothes, etc. So I think if the food is really good, you don't need the condiments. But Western food, without being racist, very often if you don't have ketchup, when you say you're without being racist, you're being racist. Without ketchup, white sauce, Tabasco sauce, Worcestershire sauce, if some of it is really dry. So I would, if I'm traveling abroad, I would carry these sauces in my pocket and walk around, honestly, sometimes, because it's very bread-based and dry. I think Indian food, generally across the subcontinent, is got so much spices and gravies and chutneys and achars and what have you. We don't necessarily need it in Indian food at all. So again, without being applying a racist theory, this is my perspective. Silvery, would you like to give us your horrible thoughts?
Yep, sure. I love ketchup with most things. Not with eggs though. Eggs, no condiments with eggs. But French fries you can't have without ketchup, man. Like I would say, they go just much better with ketchup than without. So some things, yes, you do need condiments for. Like I don't like if you lather a pizza with like ketchup. Some people like just put.
You mean where they already put the? So when you buy the pizza, it's already got that dried tomato sauce below the cheese.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the
And then
people
when
like
you add,
lather
it
it with
becomes,
like ketchup on
yeah,
top.
but then it becomes overpowering. That's right. They should write
That's
clearly
yeah.
tomato sauce is
Also,
already
have you
used
seen
in the.
this? Have you seen this? People get a burger, they open the burger, put
Yeah.
ketchup inside, and then put the burger
Yeah,
back. That is also like,
yeah.
man, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Don't do
That's an
that.
art. That's an
So
art to
yes,
splash it correctly so that it stays just right. It's all about the balance and proportion, bro. We need to get the burger experts on as well. Abhijit, is this part of your core enterprise where you discuss sauce on burgers? Have you ever gone on a forum and discussed sauce on burgers?
No, I think this is the first. So
There you go.
let's
Welcome
do
to our show. Our show
it.
will change your perspective on reality for sure. Yeah. So your theory is exactly like mine, by the way, Silvery, because it's also
yeah,
built on racism. You mentioned French fries; they come from
yeah,
Europe. You mentioned
that's
chips; they
true.
all come. Yeah. So
Yeah, burgers from Europe.
Indian
Yeah,
food,
correct.
Indian
Damn.
food, and I don't want to sound like the government and like a jingoistic Indian, but Indian food honestly doesn't need any help. If anything, we have too much sometimes. You might have to tel nikalo and ye nikalo and wo spice come karo. You hear things like that. So I think it's all to do with the cultures. That's right. We can live together in peace, but with ketchup if you're in Europe. Huh. Next.
All right. Next one comes from Vrushika Desai, who says, "Hey Cyrus and guest, uh, I'm a huge fan of crime shows and procedurals. I know Cyrus, you've been interested as well. What shows have you seen recently?" And Abhijit, please, question extends to you as
Abhijit,
well, please.
what crime shows have you been watching recently? All
Um,
these OTT options that are there.
I think the recent one, I'm not sure, it was more of like a con kind of a documentary called Inventing Anna, which is
Oh,
pretty
nice.
good.
It's not a documentary really, right?
Yeah, it's a
It's
docu-series. Huh?
okay. Is it based on true events actually?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it the
actually
story
based on
of
true
Oh
events.
wow,
is it the
fascinating.
story of Anna Hazare?
No, no, no. This
No.
was more of a person who kind of they posed as a very rich heiress or something, and they were able to like swindle a lot of money from rich people. So it was a good docu-series.
So I've just seen Ozark and Goliath in the last week or so. The latest seasons, I think 4 and 5 or 5 and 4, whatever they are. And but I got to tell you that, like with all products, the marginal utility of the product just goes down with each season. I don't know if this is true of all shows, but honestly, by the time they come to 4 and 5, you're limping through it, and 1 and 2 sometimes are like just great.
Yeah.
So yeah, love the crime show genre and all that, but it starts becoming more soap opera like, after some time. And also the surprises are not predictable, where you see changes in characters and all that they sustain in the first and second episode. You didn't expect this personality to behave in this way or to change in that way or to show a very corrupt side when there's no hint of that before. Well, then become the fourth, fifth season, they'll run out of everything. That's why I appreciate Indian movies where you have item numbers. You have an item number between
Hmm.
every season, and then you get a break in your mind, and everything's much easier to digest after that. Did I mention movie racism? Let me talk
Yes,
about
correct. Do
the difference between
that.
cultures.
Yeah, sure.
Abhijit, in between
Uh,
3 times you have to say RBP so that we get our point
Yeah,
across, because that's the whole point of the show. So for no reason, we'll go hip
yeah.
hip, you go RBP. Hip hip, RBP.
RBP,
RBP.
Hip hip, RBP.
SIP.
Oh, great,
SIP.
great. That's true. You want to show the parallel there. Okay,
Yeah.
next
Oh,
question, sir.
how long? Sorry, I just thought of this. How long have you guys been working on developing this product? Also, RBP. Like, was this like a more recent thought that you guys had, or has it been in the works for like the last year or two or something?
It's definitely been in the roadmap, and we recently ended up kind of building it. It took like a month or so, and we launched it back in Feb itself. So, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
Abhijit,
much.
just one. You know how it works in when you write a film or song or whatever. What about in this tech world? Who gets credit for coming up with RBP? I can't believe that 46 people contributed at the same amount and all that. So is there one guy in the room who's basically the brains or his brainchild?
It's usually that the request comes from multiple people, right? That SIP for crypto is something that our users are asking for. So multiple teams will say that I
That's the
just
start. That comes from
that's
the
the start.
opposite side, the start for you guys to think in a direction.
Exactly.
And then who develops
Yeah.
Yeah.
the model further?
Then there is one product manager who gets assigned to it. For this, there was one person from our team called Adarsh who picked it up and took it as his brainchild, right? And kind of coordinated with the entire team getting the tech team involved, getting the marketing team involved, and coordinating everything and making sure that we are launching this and making sure all our customers are happy and they understand what it is and they're using it.
Wow, others. He has a whole neighborhood named after him in Mumbai. Somebody will tell you about it. Adarsh Nagar.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So he's like the unknown soldier.
Yeah.
One slightly personal question, but do they get anything for that? I mean, since it's their sort of creativity or innovation, if you like.
It's more of like definitely we celebrate the wins,
Oh,
right? When
ketchup
we
and
launch
pizza.
it.
Others, ajao. We have pre-put the ketchup, so enjoy your pizza. Fair enough. Don't answer that. Leave it. Leave it. That's fine. All right. Sorry. Next
All
question.
right. Next one comes in from Sharan Gupta, who says, Cyrus, you've written 4 books. That's the
Yeah.
headline of the
Hey, I got
of the
royalties
series.
today. Penguin sent me royalties. It used to be Random House. Now it's Penguin or Penguin. Used to be, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is very little money because if you sell 3 books, you get like $8 or whatever. But I can start with the 100 rupee. I can start my RBP by the evening, in one form or the other. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
What is the
so
question?
the question is, Cyrus, you've written 4 books. I recently found this out. If you were to write another, what would it be about? And same question extends to the guest as well.
What I can understand is, they actually keep calling. I just spoke to Kapesh, lovely guy, who's from the family, Mera family that runs Rupa, for example. And they always interested in you writing more. But I said, I've written 4 books and like we sold 3 copies, which doesn't even mathematically divide. Out of 4 books, you sell 3 copies collectively. But they still want you to write. So I'm wondering if it's like a flawed business where you launder money or something. You make us write, nobody buys it, and then somebody they clean their money through this process. That's the only thing I
Right.
can come up with. But what the question is, how long does it take to write?
No. A question is, what would you write next if you were to write a book? Another
I want
book.
to write a guide to surviving Mumbai. I don't know. I think in Bangalore we are parallel cities now because Bangalore also grew very fast, and the traffic became unbelievable. We just spoke to IIM Bangalore guys, and immediately we bonded on these little things. You can call them elite problems or whatever, but I just infrastructure, people, behavior, manners, cordiality, neighborliness, these issues. I mean, I want to really write a book about that, but I want to abuse a lot in the book. So after every chapter, I want to have 2 paragraphs where I can abuse and get out of my system. The next chapter, then abuse, something like that. But Abhijit, is it fair to say that our cities, these twin cities, let's talk about them, have just grown in such a way that the decency of the and civility of the city is less than, let's say, in the 90s. When I visited, here I live here and I visit Bangalore a lot. I've just seen a difference here. There's more aggression, there's more detachment, disconnect, and just people are just not nice. Shall we get rid of these 2 cities? What do you think?
No, I was born and brought up here, so definitely I'll be biased. So,
So our government is far more fair that way, is what you're saying. We can say what we want, and nobody cares. But you're worried. Abhijit is already talking softly. Yeah. No, but it's really, I've got a lot of angst about the way civil society functions. I mean, just the other day in a public ground like Oval, an old lady trying to enter that small gate from one end, and these 20, 25 of these young cricketers with all of them wearing shirts saying Rohit Sharma. None of them can bat like Mansi Sharma. Forget Rohit Sharma. And they all enter at the same time and just like they don't push her aside physically, but they literally push her aside, just no sense of decency whatsoever. And it's coming from me. I'm saying no sense of decency. See how low we are. By the way, the moment we started talking like this, for some reason, he just logged out. He just
He
walked out
must
in
have lost his
protest.
internet.
I think it's time to talk about the truth here. Abhijit was one of those cricketers. It's clear. Maybe he was a captain of that team that jumped through and when the old lady just walked to the side. You're back, Abhijit?
Yeah,
yeah,
Abhijit, are you
I got
into
it.
cricket? Are you into cricket as well?
I'm more of into football actually. I
Oh,
play
cool.
football, watch a lot of football.
You think Liverpool can win? 3-point difference?
Could be, but then City, you'll never know. They are just in a
But you can feel the
impeccable
momentum is
form
with
right
Liverpool
now.
again. You can feel
Yeah,
that a little bit. Sport
yeah,
is about that, isn't it? Momentum. Any sport. I mean, you can see a team going through with just the timing seems to be right. Just like coming back to RBPs and investing in CoinSwitch. It's all about timing and momentum. And that momentum you can control through your RBP usage, which is not there before. Am I right to say
yeah.
this, Abhijit?
Yes,
See,
definitely.
25 years of being an
You
anchor.
You already caught on. I just had to give you little information, and I think now you're an expert. So.
I think you're still recovering from me saying destroy both our cities. You're like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he drinking on a Thursday morning? Oh, what a Friday morning. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, we
Yeah.
not completed. If Abhijit were to write a book, what would he
Oh,
like to
right.
write about?
I don't know. I think you guys might think it's boring, but I would probably write about product management itself.
Oh,
Guide
wow.
probably for new aspirants to get into it.
It's not boring. It's a specific sort of audience that you're talking to, people who are
Mhm.
interested in the business. But I
Yeah.
always say one thing, Abhijit, and I say this with due respect: you must always include some sexual tidbits in your books, even if you're writing
Product
about
manager.
product manager, you're writing about a gorilla walking in the wilds in West Africa. There must be a little bit of that. It always
Mhm.
Yeah.
enlivens and
Yeah.
humanizes the book.
Yeah.
This
There's
is
a sexy
my
product manager.
That's right.
And then
We've done it. We've
something
done it in
happens.
advertising. Don't point fingers at me. Advertising has done that for no reason. There's a hot model holding a product. There's
That's
no
true.
connection or correlation to anything.
That's true.
Okay. And when you go and buy the product, there's just this old Gujarati banya who's selling it to you, and he's not a hot model. So I'm sorry to
Yeah.
say they have fooled us for many years with this. Yeah.
That's
So
true.
product. What will you write on, Silvery?
Uh,
Pawai.
the the
Pawai. We
comparison
have
between
no
Pawai and
beggars.
Marol. The comparison between Pawai and Marol.
They
Yeah.
have them
Why
all. We
Pawai
have
is
no
so much
beggars.
better. Yeah. Correct. We send all our beggars to Marol.
Again,
Sorry,
it's
that's very
specific.
specific.
I'll
We should
buy
not
this
say
book.
that.
I
We should
don't
not
know
say
if
like that.
Abhijit in Bangalore is interested in your book, but I'll buy this book. If you're a Mumbaiker, this book is interesting.
Yeah, this is
Go on.
important. Also, like parking tips for the uninitiated is a good thing to write about.
That's after crypto.
That's
That's the next big thing.
yeah,
How
that's the
to park
next
your
thing.
car under severe pressure in India. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
for sure. All right. Next one comes from Amog Sharma, who asks, "Hey, Cyrus and dear guest, huge fan of the show, writing in for the first time. Uh, what has been the biggest / best moment in your life? It doesn't have to be biggest moment yet. It doesn't have to be best moment. It's a moment that you reminisce about the most. Maybe it was the most embarrassing moment in your life. Could you please share?"
Abhijit, you answer this. I get these questions all the time. For me, it's almost boring after a point, but for you, it'll be
I get it.
interesting.
Uh, there are many moments. I'm not sure what is.
Just take
Uh,
the top 50.
okay. Yeah, probably the day I got married. One, of course. It could be a
Abhijit,
cliche answer.
is she listening to the show? If she's not
Uh,
listening to the show,
probably.
then fine. Then
She's
you're
sitting next to him right now.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Then perfect. Who can argue with that choice? But supposing you had a second option at a low distance number two.
Uh, the first ever check we got from a customer during our startup. So that was the first earning from
Hey,
our
what?
own business, right?
Yeah, I remember that as well. But what was the amount?
I think it was around 25K. It was
25K.
the first.
Wow. One day we'll get a 25K check also, Silvery.
Yeah.
Don't
Wow,
worry.
hopefully,
हम
yes.
होंगे कामयाब एक दिन.
Bilkul,
Yeah.
bilkul.
I
Exactly.
had the same thing. We started not production. What was it called? It was some sort of production, theater production in a house or whatever. And we got an
Yeah.
event to do in 1994. I was just 22, 23 years old. And we got a check for 1 lakh. But that was for the whole, to execute the thing. The profit margin was very little. But I remember we framed it. Do I have it here? We've kept it somewhere. The 1 lakh check. It was unbelievable. What a great feeling. I was just thinking when I went out of the meeting, if I just took the check and left those other two guys, my so-called partners, and I could just, have a good time. It occurred to me. And then I realized politics is not for me. And I carried on.
Yeah.
Chalo.
All right.
Yeah.
I have a question, Abhijit. How has this Russian-Ukraine war affected the world of crypto? Like, is that the reason for the current dip in the markets?
Yeah,
Or
it's
you would
one
say,
of the
right?
reasons. Definitely, I think overall markets have suffered
Yeah.
across all the different asset classes, right? So crypto also kind of is following that trend itself. But yeah, I think it again, depending on how situation then goes on further, it would either bounce back again. So you can never say. Crypto is extremely unpredictable that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just got this idea, and this is just something came out of my head. Why do we keep saying crypto ka SIP? If we say crypto ka SIP, the explanation is correct because it's from the SIP family in a sense.
Yeah.
I think we weren't clear about that. So for the rest of this conversation, no matter what the question is, your answer should be
Cryptocurrency.
crypto ka SIP. That's right. That's right. But I think this communication is important because half the problem is people don't understand the terms. We get scared. I get scared. Abhijit, when I took out this paper and tried to understand what was going on here, I have to ask the right question to understand. RBP itself, even that's why I argued with MTV when we started. I said, MTV, it sounds like it's some, formula. And then people will get, worried. They don't realize it's really absolute stupid art form. Not that this is the same thing. So, yeah. So it's important that we say crypto ka SIP so people understand where we're coming from. And back now to non-crypto conversation from Silvery.
Sure. This is the last question we have. This one comes from Marissa Vegas, who says, "Hi, Cyrus and dear guest. Huge fan here from the United States. Have been listening to the podcast since 2018. When I used to still be in India," she says. Okay, wow, very cool. She says, "I have two questions. One is, what has always irritated you for years and makes you mad even now? And then number two is, what is the one food that you have loved all your life and you love even now?" So one thing that makes you that irritates you has irritated you for years.
Yeah, I've had a few things that have really upset me, very unanswered, like England dropping David Garr 1993 for Tour of India, and then his career came to an end after that. Also, I was horrified. I wanted to see him bat one last time. So these are things that you ask the questions, you don't get the answers. Most of the selectors from that TCB, it was called TCCB then, they're all dead. So who do I ask?
Yeah.
David Garr won't pick up the phone because I've been stalking him. And as a 65-year-old blonde man in England, when a brown-skinned man with a bag stalks you, they tend to panic. I don't know why. I don't know what the fear is. Yeah. But Abhijit will give us a much more concise answer, I'm sure. So what irritates Abhijit?
I'm not the kind of person who gets irritated that easily, but I think mostly...
Then people asking you the question, why don't you get irritated, must irritate you.
Probably, I think that is one of it. And I think since I follow and watch a lot of football, right? So anytime a person misses a very simple chance, right? Of course, benefit of doubt to them that playing in front of such a huge audience and at that level will definitely hit some nerves. But at the same time, since you're so passionate about the team and the game, and when they miss it, you just like lose it, right?
So who do you follow? Who's your team? I forgot to ask you that.
I'm a Man United fan.
Outside chance, but unlikely. But there's a bit of a revival, so I'll give you that. It had a horrible period for a little while, and now, in fact, after dominating for so many years, nice to see them go down a bit. But now, what do you think? With Ronaldo, with or without Ronaldo, things will be better in the next year or so?
Hopefully. Again, I think too many managers keep moving around, so there's no specific philosophy that the team is playing with. So it'll take some time, but
yes,
I think
that's a great way to end the show. Too many managers keep moving around, unlike CoinSwitch, where we have Associate Director of Product Growth and Experience at CoinSwitch, Abhijith Cuddapah himself, right there. 9 years plus of experience. A man who plays guitar by night, watches football by day, and in the afternoon for 2 hours keeps his eye on the business, which is all you need to do to be successful when it comes to crypto. Am I right, sir? Because you've left us with a great legacy. You left us with the RBP, which allows morons like me to, without associating yourself too much with the whole situation, you can sort of still play the game.
Yeah. You just need to set it once and then do whatever you please and let your money just grow.
In France, they say Viva la France. In India, we say Jai Hind. But in crypto, we say crypto ka SIP.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you, Abhijit. Sorry to bother you with my stupidity, but it's important that all the morons out there also get a chance to make a little money. Thank you. We'll see you everybody soon. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.